Hi, I'm Jen from JenThereDoneThat, and for over 5 years, I've lived full-time in beautiful Puerto Rico. And many of you have asked me, how's that going? So I'm going to answer as many questions as I can and give you the 5-year recap of living in Puerto Rico and how's it going. Okay, so let's start with some really common questions that I get asked frequently. First of all, people want to know about the sharks, poisonous and dangerous animals, and overall safety. Well, first of all, sharks, it's the ocean, it's the Caribbean Sea. There are definitely sharks down there, but you really have to hunt to find them. They're trying to avoid you. So if you watch any of my scuba diving videos, you'll see how excited I get when we see sharks or barracudas or stingrays and turtles. They're not that common. Turtles we may see on the surface, but definitely just at your normal beach day, you're not going to see sharks, unfortunately. Every once in a while, we're lucky here in Palmas. We do get manatees and dolphins, which is pretty exciting. Last week, some folks saw tarpons and kind of thought they resembled a shark fin or baby shark fins. It's not, they're fish. We do have some venomous caterpillars, and we have the big toads that can be poisonous if your dog licks them, so don't you lick any toads. And really, there's just not a lot of, there's no poisonous snakes. We just don't have the dangerous wildlife here. There's just the occasional venomous caterpillars, which are kind of like these small little fuzzy caterpillars. Don't touch them. And then of course we have mosquitoes. I've talked about mosquitoes before. They are a problem, but I will say I have just gotten used to putting on my bug spray first thing in the morning. My mosquito spray gets reapplied in the late afternoon, and they don't like me as much. Maybe I'm just not as sweet as when I first moved to the island. We do have mongoose, which are really bizarre. They're these little rat rodent, brownish furry things, and you really don't see them very often. There are a few nests here and there around the island. They try to avoid people. They're about the size of a cat, a house cat, and they pretty much keep to themselves. That's one of the weird things that we have on the island that I wasn't quite used to, but for the most part we have lots of birds, and then of course we have the little coqui frogs. They're about the size of your thumb, and they're called coqui because they sound like coqui, coqui. When I first moved here, I heard them and I thought, what kind of bird is that? And they're actually just these little frogs. They're considered an invasive species in Hawaii, and here we love our coquis. They're just part of our natural habitat, and at night when you go out away from buildings and places, you'll just hear that soft coqui, coqui. It's very relaxing. It's kind of the song of Puerto Rico, if you will. As for safety, a lot of people ask me about this. I've done a previous video, I'll link it above, but overall, I feel very safe on this island. I have not had any problems. I am careful in the neighborhoods I go to. If I do visit La Perla, I go during the day. I don't have my camera out. I don't try to make people feel uncomfortable at that point. And I usually have my camera out when I'm out and about on the island. So there are certain areas and neighborhoods that I put it away, and I try to be respectful of people's private lives. But for the most part, people are really nice. And a lot of times they'll ask me if I'm pulled over to the side of the road taking a photo or video of something beautiful to post to my channel. I have people stop me and ask, are you okay? Do you need help? Are you having any mechanical problems? And I just say, no, I'm just taking a photo. It's very sweet. I have been approached, people think I'm a tourist, and they'll ask me if I'm lost or if I need help navigating or if I have any questions. overall, people are just so welcoming and nice and polite. It's amazing how I cannot get over that culture of just warmth. And not that people in the States are mean or rude or whatever, it's just a very different culture. It's a very small island, everyone's kind of family, and they have that family-friendly attitude, and I like it. I think that more places would do well to incorporate that level of friendliness to strangers. A little backstory. Many of you have asked me how I ended up in Puerto Rico, or why I ended up in Puerto Rico. So several years ago, several years before I even considered moving to the island, I was looking to move someplace new and different. I was looking at the Caribbean, South America, a lot of different places, and in part of my search and my journey, I was looking at the saints throughout the Caribbean. And I booked a cruise. It is the cheapest and easiest way to see the islands in a very short period of time. And the first stop just happened to be Puerto Rico. I knew nothing about the island. It was not on my radar. It was never a consideration. And the one day we were here on our cruise, I just loved it. I loved Old San Juan. I loved the vibe. I just loved the people, the food. It was incredible. And the whole rest of the cruise, every island we went to, I kept going, oh, this is nice. Puerto Rico is so much better. And I really like Puerto Rico. And it's just something about this island intrigued me, and I wanted to learn more. So a couple years passed, and I booked a 2-week vacation just to scout it out and figure out, could I live on this island and what it would be like. And on my 2-week vacation, I learned more about the tax incentives, the Tax Act 20 exporting your business as a service, which is now Tax Act 60, and that allowed me to move my business here sooner. And it reduced my corporate income tax to make this a really viable option. Otherwise, I was going to need to save a few more years, and who knows where I would have ended up. But this accelerated my time frame. So within 5 months, I bought one-way tickets to Puerto Rico and had booked a home, sight unseen, in the community of Palmas del Mar. It was part of my 2-week scouting trip. I drove all around. There's a lot of reasons why I chose this community, and I'm back in Palmas del Mar because it seems fitting for my 5-year recap. Some of the biggest incentives and reasons to move to Puerto Rico instead of some of the other islands I looked at is it is a U.S. territory. We have U.S. currency. I kept my U.S. phone. I could keep my US-based contracts. So from a business standpoint, it made the most sense for me. Otherwise, if I moved to foreign soil outside of the United States, I was going to lose a significant portion of my business income. Thus, I would need to save many more years before I could make the move. Being on US soil allowed me to keep those existing contracts and move here earlier. So everything just kind of lined up, and every decision pointed to Puerto Rico is the right place for me. And let me tell you, 5 years later, there were definitely times over the course of living here that I definitely questioned that decision. Hurricane Maria and some of the other natural disasters come to mind, but Hurricane Maria really brought out the best in people. And I can't believe how the community came together. And honestly, after Hurricane Maria, people were asking me, are you going to leave? Are you going to move? Are you going to go back home? And I said, this is my home. I can't imagine living anywhere else. I was so impressed with how resilient people are here, and the positive attitudes, and the we're in this together and we can do this. And absolutely, I want to be a part of that rebuilding effort, and I haven't looked back. Part of going through so many natural disasters, I've moved around quite a bit, all within Palmas del Mar. And you may, if you've If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I actually left Palmas del Mar full-time, and I'm now living full-time in Cabo Rojo. I'm still exploring the whole southwest part of the island. It definitely feels like a different island. It's got a very different culture, but it's still that wonderful, vibrant Puerto Rico and that community and family. And I truly do have family here now. A lot of people have asked me, did I know anybody when I moved here? No, I knew no one. And it took me a few weeks to start to meet people and find people. And then once I did, I have made so many friends here, friends that are family to me. I spend family dinners with them and holidays that I don't go back to the States. I'm here with my Puerto Rican family. After 5 years, I finally did register to vote, and I voted in the last election. I researched all the candidates and all of the different initiatives and tried to be as educated as possible. I still was really nervous going in to vote. I don't know everything about the politics, so I still ask my local friends, what does this mean? What's the history? What's the backstory behind this? And they help fill me in so I can make an educated decision. Politics here are complicated. We also had Ricky Renuncia, which is ousting our former governor, Ricky Rosselló, who was not a good person. He had some very corrupt dealings and some inappropriate telegram messages. If you haven't caught up with that, it's a whole other story. And I try to keep informed. And that's part of the reason why I've started doing these videos. Most of the information that we receive, surprise, is in Spanish because most people here speak Spanish. You're lucky if there's a lot of bilingual speakers, but most of the news and information is provided in Spanish. There's 100 great news sources in Espanol to know what's going on in the island and what's going on in the Caribbean. But trying to find those English news sources is very difficult. And I do read Spanish at a very basic level. So I have found some really good sources. And of course, I ask a lot of my friends to help me. Oh, this word doesn't make sense to me, or I don't quite understand the history of that. So they really help me with the translations and know what's going on. But I just found that if you're an English speaker and you don't read Spanish at all, it would be incredibly difficult to know what's going on the island. So that's one of the main reasons why I started doing these videos, is to provide that level of information for people that are wanting to come and visit the island, or people that are like me and considering a big move. Well, having that English language news is comforting. Now, I'm much more comfortable one-on-one speaking to somebody because I can stop them and ask questions, ask for clarification, and they slow down and they speak slowly enough that I can understand them when they're speaking Spanish. But on news conferences, especially now with COVID, when people are wearing the face masks during conferences, it's really difficult to understand and follow the news. So I hope that you're getting a good information from my channel. That's one of my main goals, is to help provide information about the island and what's going on here, our life, and just whatever news I can in that infotainment space of information, and hopefully I'm a little bit entertaining, in English. Because when I first moved here, there were only like 2 real families that were posting about life in Puerto Rico in English. And one of them has since moved away, and another one I still follow, but it's really not my life. I'm much older, and many of you watching in my demographics are between the 40 and 65 age range. Hello and welcome. You are my people. I'm your age. So I can't really relate to some of the 20-somethings that are moving here. And I'm so encouraged that they are moving here, but I have a very different perspective on life, and I'm just at a very different place in my life than they are. So I'm going to try to offer that perspective as well. Part of getting older is health issues, and I've had my share of health issues the last few years, and I even had surgery just a few months ago here on the island, and that was an experience, but it was a very positive experience. When I first moved here, I was having difficulty navigating the healthcare system. I didn't understand the no appointments thing, which is getting better, and I know how to ask for that now. But that was really scary to me. And I'm so glad to share that information with you guys of how to navigate the healthcare system and how not to be scared about going in and getting proper health care. So I've had great experiences. In fact, I was at the dentist this week for my first cleaning in a year and a half, and someone actually recognized me but didn't say anything. They messaged me later and say, I saw you at the dentist. I am out and about, and please, if you see me, come up and say hi. I would love to talk to you and get a better understanding of where you're at and what you'd like to see more of. So if you don't run into me on the island, please leave your comments below of what you would like to see in the future, what questions you'd like answered, and I'll do my best to answer those. Really, what most people ask me about is island life. And again, I have a very different perspective because of my age, and living in Palmas del Mar is completely different than living in Dorado or Rincon or Cabo Rojo. So I will be doing a cost of living comparison between Cabo Rojo and Palmas del Mar very soon, so stay tuned for that. And if there's any other questions you have about East Coast versus West Coast Puerto Rico living, let me know. A lot of people have been asking which is best, and there is no best general statement I can say. It's what's best for you. So I know that I would not be happy living in Condado or the Metro San Juan area, and some people absolutely love it. That's perfect for them. Again, they're at a different place in their life than I am. So I'm going to try to give you my perspective. It's not going to be for everyone, but I hope it's helpful for you. Overall, in 5 years, island life has not been exactly what I thought it was going to be. I guess I thought I was going to wake up in the morning, go for a walk on the beach, work my contracts, work for myself, I'm self-employed, and then at the end of the day, I was going to go back on the beach. I really don't. I still go to the beach pretty often, but that's not how I start my day. That's not how I end my day always. I do, if you watch this channel, you'll notice that I go to explore places early in the morning, off peak. I try to avoid the crowds. So I probably go to places that are a little more off the beaten path. I try to find those hidden gems and share those with you. And I go at off times. Holy Week, the week between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday, I don't even leave the house because that also overlaps with spring break. And tons of people are here. It's very, very crowded. A friend of mine actually was upset with me because I didn't warn her ahead of time. And yeah, she would have scheduled that week a little differently had she'd known how many people come here and how large the crowds are. And it's really a lot of the spring breakers too. So it's the much younger crowd, the partying crowd, loud music. And again, I prefer to be away from the crowds. There's no one around me right now. And that's how most of my videos are. Away from the crowds and just trying to share this wonderful, intimate experience with you. So thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, I truly appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Be sure to hit that like button if you actually enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more videos from Jen There, Done That in Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, and beyond.